Hello, my name is Maya Mathis, and I'm a freshman on the UConn women's soccer team. I think the things that I focused on were obviously the things that didn't come natural to me. I feel like oftentimes in high school I was described as pretty aggressive player, strong, athletic. So the parts of my game that I mostly focused on were maintaining those first. So I had a pretty good gym regimen that was approved by my college coaches now. I made sure to do a lot of conditioning and a lot of just skill work. I made sure even my senior year was pretty tough, just because I got ankle surgery. But leading up to that, I made sure to just hone in on those like technical skills, because I think that gives you an edge over a lot of other players that don't really focus on that. You can always be more technical. Um, I think improving my soccer IQ is something that I still try to work on to this day. And I think I started honing in on that probably my junior year, early junior year, right after I committed to just improve my game a lot more. So I think those are just a few things that I tried to work on. I think some of the best advice I've been given just throughout my career is to just play like myself. I think when you try to become another player and you like a lot of times people try to emulate people that they look up to. Oftentimes like Ronaldo, Messi, like it's just not me. And like the parts of my game that I was complimented on, like aggression, athleticism, um, athleticism. I think that just keeping those parts and staying true to the type of player that you are is just gonna make you so much better than the other players that are just constantly trying to change their game. I think it's good to tweak little parts of your game, but um, just staying true to who you are on the field and off the field. Um, Being humble, I think, is another thing that was taught to me by early on by my coaches. I think my first club coach just taught us the importance of being humble more off the fields, and just having a winning mentality with that too, but kind of how to interconnect being humble and having a winning mentality. So I think those were two good pieces of advice that came pretty early on through club coaches. It was kind of reinforced by my high school coaches as well. So I think that's pretty important. I think a lot of times, something that a lot of people don't talk about is burnout. Um, People think like, oh, if you've been burnt out, you just quit. I don't think that's the reality of it. I think a lot more players go through burnout than people think they do. Um, and that's something I've experienced. I think I've experienced it multiple times throughout my career. Um, and just kind of pulling yourself back in, and you have to realize why you're doing this, why you keep playing. You're not playing for the success of it all. You're playing for yourself. Um, so I think that was definitely a challenge. I think injury has been a huge part of just my entire career. I mentioned I got ankle surgery my senior year, but that was kind of the breaking point of my injuries. I had reoccurring ankle sprains since I was 11 years old. Um, and struggling with that it's one of the hardest things is coming back from injury. Just the mental aspect of it, having to take time off from like the thing that for some people and for me, it was one of the things that truly like was my drive through life. At the end of the day, all I wanted to do was just get on the field. If I was mad, I wanted to get on the field. If I was happy, I wanted to get on the field. So finding other things that motivate you through life to just keep going other than your sport, I think that was just a really tough challenge for me, and honestly something that I'm still working on today. Injury is always gonna happen. It can happen to anybody. And it was through my ankle surgery that I kind of realized that part of honestly just sports. Just realizing there's more. So recruitment was definitely it was a really tough time. And I even see I have two younger sisters that are going through. One of them just ended their process and the other one's just beginning it. recruitment process, it's a long, hard process that you're questioning a lot about yourself, you're questioning a lot about your worth. Um, and for me, it was especially tough because it was COVID when I was getting recruited. So coaches couldn't come to our games. We had numerous showcases and games canceled. A lot of it was centered online. So I had a highlight tape, which I honestly do suggest for any athlete that's trying to get recruited. There's no harm in making a highlight tape. You can make one yourself. I hired someone that we knew previously to make one. They did a great job. Um, I think it shows your skills. It shows what type of player you are right off the bat. You can send it to coaches, and then that invites them to come to more things. I don't think that getting recruited off a highlight tape is ideal. I was lucky that UConn and Mags and Carrie and the rest of my coaching staff had watched me throughout my years. So they had been watching me since I think my 8th grade year, my freshman year of high school. And were pretty consistent in coming to my games. They got to know me as a player, and then through the recruiting process, they got to know me as a person, and I got to know them. And I think that's another big thing is you need to know what type of family, I would say, that you're walking into, because when you're playing in college, it's not just about a team anymore. You're with these girls, you're with these coaches, you're with, if it's boys too, you're with your teammates like 7-8 hours out of the day, sometimes more. If you live with them too, like you are with these people, you need to make sure that you are at the right place for you, which I think does start with the people. I think that a lot of times something that I've realized it happens with other people. I thought it was just to me. But everybody talks about this feeling that happens when you kind of walk on campus, that at the school that like you end up going to. I've hosted a few recruits this year. Just as a freshman, it's kind of our duty just to show around the recruits. And a lot of them that ended up committing talked about like the feeling that they had when they got on campus and talked to the coaches and saw the team. So it's like you don't want to force yourself to go to some school just because it's a big name school, or you really like you think the soccer's good or the sports good. You really want to go to a place that feels like home. For me, that was also in proximity to my house. I'm an hour and a half away from UConn, which makes it so easy for my entire family to come and drive down to see my games, to visit me quickly. I'm definitely a homebody, so even going home for a weekend was rejuvenating to me sometimes. Say if I was sick or just going through finals and had a stressful time, like it was so easy for me. So I think that's another thing is just paying attention to what kind of person you are, and again, staying true to that. If I chose somewhere that was far away, I don't think that's staying true to myself, and I think that honestly, there's a chance I could have been miserable. So I think that's all really important when you're going through your recruiting process, to just keep those things in mind. So my transition to college and playing at a college level was definitely really tough. Again, I brought up injuries. There's the mental aspect of it, and I think that is a big thing that I picked up was the mental aspect of it. Confidence can make or break your game. Confidence can rise or fall just based on outside factors, which is something that I realized a lot this year. So I think that just making sure you're mentally sound before you're putting your all on the fields, and just prioritizing your mental health, like how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis while you're playing at a high level is really important. But some things that I picked up on the field that I think I've developed through the college game is just the speed of play is so different. It's a lot quicker. There's a lot more possession in the game. You have to think quicker. You really need to be on the same wavelength, I would say, as your teammates. You all need to be in good standings with each other. Like you're only as good as your teammates are. Just as a team, like you need to celebrate each other's wins, not put each other down. That's a huge thing that I've learned. which I think is really common in high school and club sports, just because I think like the immaturity a little bit is like you don't really care about your teammates that much. I mean, you're with them for a 2-hour practice at most on a few weekdays and then games over the weekend, and maybe you're in a hotel with each other for a few nights, and that's really it. I mean, I don't think you get to connect in the same way that you do with your college teammates, and I do think that's kind of a beautiful thing is like being able to connect with people that the way that I have this year. I feel like I've made some of my closest friends just through playing soccer at UConn. So yeah, I think those are pretty good things that I've picked up just from playing so far, and I know that there's a lot more to come. So I cannot emphasize enough how much more there is to life than soccer, than your sport. Um, as a young athlete, I think it's so hard not to get wrapped up in, oh my gosh, what school am I going to? Did I play well enough in practice? Did I play well enough in the game? I was at a point, and one of my sisters is at a point where soccer used to define every single part of our life outside of it. Like, um, again, I said, like, if I was mad, I wanted to go to soccer. If I was happy, I wanted to go to soccer. But also, on the flip side, if I had a bad practice, that would affect my mood at school the next day. If I had a great practice, then I would be happy for the rest of the night. And I think that that's something that I've learned through this year, going along with injuries, which is my ankle surgery kind of forced me into realizing this, that I give so much more to the table outside of soccer. I think it's important to have other hobbies outside of just your sport. You need to find things that make you happy, and just not let everything within your sport dictate your life outside of it. And I think that my sisters are starting to catch on, and I hope that other athletes can understand the message that I'm trying to put out when I say that, because your sport is important. It should bring you happiness, but it shouldn't control every single mood that you have. It really shouldn't, especially at a young age. Like, you need to, that's the life that you're supposed to live when you're younger. You're supposed to be carefree and not really have to worry about, oh, where am I going to college and am I good enough? I think those are things that really come on later. I think when you do play a sport in college, it does get more serious. But if you don't already have that foundation of, wow, like, I'm not just the person I am because of soccer, I think going into college with that, just knowing that in your heart, I think is really, really, really important. I can't emphasize that enough. So again, I am very new to NIL, as you said, but I think something that's important for me is what I do with NIL. I don't want it to just be for the money or just for, not, there's no stupid deal, but I think I try to navigate kind of closer to deals that put out more than I receive. I want to give advice to younger athletes. I recently put out a video that's up on my Instagram right now that talks about the mental health aspect when your mental health isn't prioritized, and what issues kind of arise when that does happen. And I do, like, the messages I got in response to that video, like, brought tears to my eyes. A lot of people were like, I didn't know you struggled with this, and it makes me feel so much more comfortable. So even knowing and hearing things like that, like, are just so much more to me than the money that NIL brings. But I do, like, the money for NIL, it's honestly really cool. It's becoming really big right now. And I'm definitely interested into getting more involved with just other deals. I want to get my name out there. I think what I've learned is starting with smaller deals and just kind of outputting your name, your brand, and just kind of getting those done is really, really important. And I'm still learning a lot about NIL. I know a lot of my teammates that are upperclassmen are far more educated in it than I am. But it's inspiring to see what they do with their brands and kind of the face that they put out for themselves. And that's kind of something that I want to do. And I know that a lot of other people want to do. So that's kind of my piece on NIL right now.